Video is to enable you to correct your homework for section 9.2.1, problems 955 through 960. So for 955, they want you to read through the math notes. Remember, those are also in your workbook or toolkit, whatever you choose to call it, and use the information to decide if these shapes are polygons. So this first shape is not a polygon because of the curve right there. We need to have only straight line segments to make up a polygon. The second shape here is a polygon. The third, again, is not because of, again, the curve. And the last one is. So remember, the characteristics for a polygon is that it has to be made up of all line segments. It has to be a closed figure, meaning there's not a gap or opening, and line segments cannot overlap or intersect. For 956, they want the volume and surface area of each shape. Again, this is sort of the idea of some spatial reasoning. So if you wanted to, you could pull out cubes, which we have, to help you find these answers. So for this first one, the volume is 1 cubic inch, and the surface area is 6 square inches. Remember, area will always be in square units, and volume will be in cubic units. For the second, the volume is 3 cubic inches, and the surface area is 14 square inches. And for the bottom one here, the volume is 3 cubic inches, and the surface area is 14 square inches. So even though these two look very different, they actually both have the same volume and surface area. For 957, red apples cost $1.20 per pound. Green apples cost $1.50 per pound. They want an expression that represents the total cost of X pounds of red apples and Y pounds of green apples. So we're going to take the $1.20 per pound, which is the cost of the red apples, times the quantity of red apples, which is X. So $1.20 times X, plus the cost of the green apples, $1.50 per pound, times the quantity of green apples, which is Y. So $1.20 times X plus $1.50 times Y. If you drop the non-essential 0, that's fine, obviously. And remember, a number in front of a variable does mean multiply. Then what's the total cost if you buy 3 pounds of red apples and 2 pounds of green apples? So you could now replace X with 3 and multiply by $1.20, replace Y with 2, multiply by $1.50, and then lastly add, and you get $6.60. For 958, Ellen is building a scale model of the space shuttle. A space shuttle is approximately 122 feet long and has a wingspan of 78 feet. So they want to know how many inches long is the space shuttle. So we would take its length, 122 feet, multiply by the fact that there's 12 inches in a foot to get 1,464 inches. Then Ellen plans to build her model so that 1 centimeter on the model represents 10 inches on the space shuttle. They want you to write a proportion to show this relationship and then find how long her model would be in centimeters. So we would start with the fact that 1 centimeter on the model represents 10 inches. So there's our ratio there. And then we know that the length of the model, from what we just discovered in the first part, is 1,464 inches. Okay, so the length of the space shuttle is this. Again, inches across from inches. We want to find how many centimeters long that would be for the model. So when we do our cross products, we get 146 and 4/10. All right. Then they want you to write and solve a proportion to find the model's wingspan in centimeters. So again, you're going to use the same concept. 1 centimeter to 10 inches is your ratio. But what we're doing is replacing the wingspan with the amount of inches that it is. So if you go back up to the original information, the wingspan was 78 feet. 78 times 12 is how we got 936 inches. So 78 feet times 12 inches in a foot equals 936 inches. Again, inches across from inches. We're going to solve for centimeters, which is 93 and 6/10 centimeters. And then they want you to remember that 1 inch is approximately 2 and 54 centimeters. So how many inches long would her model be? So again, this can also be set up and solved as a proportion. This would be our ratio. 1 inch is equivalent to 2 and 54 centimeters. We're talking about the length. And we found the length of the model to be 146 and 4/10 centimeters. Centimeters across from centimeters. Inches is what we're looking for. And you end up getting, if you round it, 57 and 64 hundredths inches. For 959, they want the area and circumference of a circle if that is the radius. So again, remember that the area of a circle is pi r squared, or if you use the approximation for pi, 3.14 times radius times radius. The radius, of course, is 7. So if you do the rounded answer, you get 153 and 9/10. Again, that's using 3.14 for pi times 7 times 7. Otherwise, if you left it exact, it'd be 49 pi centimeters squared. And then circumference of a circle, remember, again, is pi times diameter. And we are given the radius, but we know that 2 radii is the way to write it or say it, would equal a diameter. So if the radius is 7, that means the diameter is 2 times 7, or 14. 14 times pi would be approximately 44 centimeters. So again, if you wanted it exact, you'd leave it as 14 pi. Otherwise, you're using the approximation of 3 and 14 hundredths. Here for 960, they want the area and perimeter of each shape. So for area, one way you could do it is to figure out the area of the whole thing and then subtract the area of this section right here. Or you could break it apart into rectangles, find the area of each section and add them together. Either way, you end up getting an area of 59 square units. And then for perimeter, you're adding up all the outside edges, which is 40 units. For this one, again, you can think of it as an entire trapezoid, and then just cut out this section right here. And remember that you should know and use the area of a trapezoid formula, base 1 plus base 2. Put that in parentheses, so you do that first, and then divide by 2 times perpendicular height. And again, then you'd subtract the area of this rectangular part that we don't want to include. So you get an area to be 130 square units. And perimeter, again, is adding up the outside edges, which is 58 units. Again, notice that you should have the correct label for these.